All right, welcome back. Last but certainly not least, the fun stuff is on page editing. So I will dive in. There's a lot, of course, working in any website builder is there's a learning curve, but I'll show you the basics. I've also linked throughout this post. The written post, some more resources we've created. We have this entire 30-minute long, like Squarespace and 30-minute video. So there's more details there. We have tons of resources, but I'm going to show you the basics right now. So let me actually just create a new blank page. You can see how I've done that. So I'll just call it test. Again, I'm focusing on on actual design. In that longer video, I've shown you, how to add pages, what that looks like moving them around, like putting things in the navigation. But this specifically, I'm just showing you editing and designing. Sorry. So let me go on this test page. You have this empty page. Awesome. Go into edit and you have a blank page. So click add section. A lot of things you can do here. So because I am a Squarespace designer, I tend to just add a blank section and start building from scratch. But some other options are add section. Squarespace has some preset sections based on, okay, I want to display my services. Some of these I think are like terrible TBH. I don't know why you would use some of these, but some of them are useful. So you can totally scroll through here and see what they have. New feature that is amazing is you can save sections. So let me get out of here really quick. Let me go to a page that I've already built. So I do this every time now after I've built my home page, which kind of sets the tone for the rest of the site. I go to each section and heart it, and that's saving it. So these will now be my saved sections. And, maybe you don't need to do it with all of them, but I tend to just want to have options. So I'm going to go back to the test page, go to edit, click add section. If you go to save sections, now you can see I have all of these here. So like if I want my hero images to look pretty similar, bam, I don't have to sit here and redesign it. Now you can move things around using these arrows like, oh, I want this at the top. You can duplicate it by clicking that. I have a whole post on duplicating sections, so check that out. I've also linked that. Remove sections just like I just did. Okay, and then once you're in here, so anything that's already existing, text boxes just act like text boxes. You can just type right in them. Your site styles we've talked about in a different video, but everything's already preset now for you. So you can switch between your heading styles and all of that, and everything's already the styling set. So you're not having to sit here and actually do any of that. You can change out images, clicking on them, clicking the pencil, change those out. But let me dive into more details on like how these blocks work when you don't already have something built. So let me go into my blank section. So if you go to add block, this is how you build a page. So all of your options are here. The ones you use the most, of course, are like text, buttons, images, but all of these are really useful. So let's just start. Say I want an image. It's just going to drop it on the page. As you start moving it around, you can see there's this grid in the background. Now let me click into my section, go to edit section. Here's where I can format like what this grid looks like. To be honest, I don't tend to really change this. I think they've done a pretty good job at setting this up naturally. So I tend to change that. I don't really change this outside of changing like the depth, which you can do by dragging this, or you can add more here, but you're going to drag it around as you're styling. So you can set your section, each section you can set up like, does the background fill the screen? I tend to do not fill screen when I want things to run to the edge. We can talk about that later. There's another way to do it. Your height. So this is that padding above and below where you can put any content. So you can't put any content here. So that's kind of that blank space. I tend to go not fill screen when I want, say like if I wanted this image, all images, you can drag all the way to the far margins, all the way to the edge. So I do a lot of like, full bleed images like this. Those are pretty in. Let me go back into edit section. But you could say, just kidding, I don't want it to fill screen. I still want some space above and below. You can choose how everything's, how your grid's aligned. I almost always keep it in the center. There are some reasons to do otherwise, but I won't dive into that. You might come across them. This is brand new. You can set dividers. So this is really, really cool. You can change the shape. So the bottom of your section doesn't have to be completely straight anymore. You can add a line to it, change the color. So I could say I wanted to have this like turquoise stroke, play around with that. This is just like you can just basically shuffle the options. If you're like, hey, let's see what they come up with. Some of these are literally insane. This one's really, really nice. Super useful. Yeah. Or you can go into here and actually start setting them yourself and get way more into detail. So super cool. That's brand new. Awesome, awesome, awesome option. Background. This is where if you wanted a background photo, you could set that. So let me just upload. This is going to be insane because this is just where I'm at, but I'm in my Squarespace, like my learn posts. So just pretend this is a normal photo. Switching gears real quick. If you go to colors, this is where, again, I talked more about this in that design tab video, but what you want your background to be. Now, if you have a photo in the background, this is really like what you want your overlay to be. So let's say I want my overlay to be dark. Go back to background, and you can set your overlay opacity. So if that image in the background was an actual photo, like this would look really nice, or you could do like a light overlay. But that's kind of how these come into play. These themes come into play when there's a photo in the background, is mostly the overlay. You could inset the photo rather than making it full bleed. And then you could do an image effect if you wanted it to. These are sometimes honestly kind of crazy. Let me get rid of the overlay. The one that you're going to use the most is this is the new way to do parallax. You can, again, shuffle it, which I think is slightly chaotic, but go for it. Or you can actually sit here and, set your parallax. So the intensity of it. So as you're scrolling, it's scrolling with you. You can kind of change like the angle. Again, it looks way more, way better when you're using a normal photo, but that's where that comes in. Now, say you're not doing a photo in the background. Back in edit section. Colors, this is where those themes really come in. So you decide what background color you want, basically. Cool. So that's the basics on like how to set the background. But yeah, next is just setting the page up. So we've already added this photo. You could add text. And again, Fluid Engine, this was released a little bit ago now. This is the newest version of Squarespace. Is just that is fluid. You can drag something anywhere. So I could put this here. I could type, say, I want this to be my heading 2. Add another text box. Type in here. Say I wanted this to be, it's going to, my paragraph 2. It's my body copy. Okay, now I want my button. And again, you can literally move things around. I always suggest keeping things kind of like tight to themselves. So you wouldn't want this all the way down here, because what's going to happen is sometimes when you save, it's going to like bump the next element below it. So you do want to be cognizant of like those frames. But your button, you can toggle between primary, secondary, tertiary. If you have all those styles set up, you can drag it, make it bigger, smaller. You can click on it. And here is where you change what it says, where it links to. Again, you can toggle between what type of button, and then fit and fill. Fit will make it smaller. It's basically going to fit to the words. And if you chose fit, then you'd have the option to figure out how you want to align it. I have a whole video on this, but everything can be like highlighted and duplicated, which is nice if you for any reason wanted to repeat stuff. That's really nice for like when you're doing, let's say you wanted a section of like icons and text. So let's say, I wanted an icon that's like, I don't know, this size, add block, some text centered underneath it. I tend to put the first one in the center. It will give you the center line so that I can kind of spread things out appropriately. I would set this up completely as I want, and you can start duplicating and just creating the page. So that makes life a lot easier. You can make, your section deeper, less deep. I always like to pull it all the way to as tight as possible once you're done designing, but you can move it around like that. But there's so many blocks here. So your buttons gallery, so like a gallery of photos. You can add a video by either uploading it or embedding it from YouTube or Vimeo. You can add a form, audio, your newsletter sign up. Accordions are great. This is where you kind of have that drop down text. You can style those, your contents here. You can do all the styling in here. Scrolling is a little wild, but kind of fun. You can add like a divider line. These I use a lot. A map. And if you need to add any on-page code, your calendar, there's so much here. Summary blocks can be really, really great. Summary blocks link to other things on your site. So if you want to summarize like a blog, basically you put this on your page, you can style it, but you're selecting a page for it to pull from. So it's pulling now from my Learn page. I can, set all the stuff. I could filter it by category if I wanted, if I only want to show a certain category, and then tell it how to display, how many to display. So that's all here. So summary blocks are really, really useful. I use those a ton as well. There's so much in here, everything you can need. Your Instagram feed, if you wanted that on here, search features, all kinds of stuff. So you can get really, really crazy with editing a Squarespace page, but that's really a lot of your options. And again, it's a really cool click and drag builder. So you can build, move things around as needed. It's great because now there's this shape feature where you can put a shape. So you can more easily block things off. So I could, send that to the back. Of course, in this scenario, it's set to where this is where your site styles come in, where those themes come in. This font is set to be black on this background. So that's where you have to kind of play around with, okay, like maybe I need a white box then. So it shows. So that's all there. And then in this scenario, okay, I'd want to center this. So it's centered in the white box. So you can start layering stuff, which is nice. It's something I do a lot now is, maybe I had this photo here and then maybe I wanted, this shape to be, let's say I want it to be gray. I can make it slightly transparent, send backwards, and then I can like grab everything and put on top. So you can do, this looks insane, of course, but you could do all of this like layering now, which is really, really fun. So really the sky's the limit when it comes to building on your actual page. Those are the basics. A lot to learn about just generally, how to lay a page out. So, this is kind of considering the fact that maybe you have a little bit of design eye, but you can also look at Pinterest and all kinds of other places for inspiration on how to lay a page out. And then now you know how to. Okay, I hope that's helpful and I hope you enjoy.